real quick.
Good evening. This is Matt Moseley with Big Pig Energy and the Arkansas Sports Network coming to you live. We got Coach Kevin Kelley. We're going to have our very first Big Pig Energy Recruiting Commitment Day, Signing Day show. Special guest with us tonight, Mr. Otis Kirk. Otis, tell the folks, man, tell them what you've been up to and what you're doing these days.
Well, work for hogville.net and Pig Trail Nation. I do a recruiting segment on Sundays for them, and not just recruiting for Hogville and Pig Trail Nation. I cover the Razorback football team. I also work for some newspapers, cover all things Razorbacks, basketball, football, baseball, obviously recruiting. But no, I just pretty much with Hogville and Pig Trail Nation, I pretty much concentrate on football. But with the newspapers I work for, there's about 9 or 10 of them. What it is, I took over the Nate Allen Sports Service. He was running, he got cancer and had to give it up. And I said, man, I took it with the hope that he could eventually come back and do it, but it's not going to work out. But no, people ask, when you going to retire? And I'm not going to retire, man. What would I do? I'm not a retirement guy, man. I'm not. I couldn't last 2 days in retirement. I really couldn't. I mean, there's only so much TV to watch, and I'm not a guy to get out. My dad used to go out in the yard and fiddle around, dig holes, never plant anything. I don't do that. So I'll be working until I told Lanny Beavers, like, the day I die is the day I will retire and quit.
That's a fact. I mean, I completely know what you're saying. Men in my family, they seem to last about 6 months after retirement, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
Because we've always worked. I mean, I'm an Eastern Arkansas kid, grew up on a farm in Forest City in Caldwell, and you go from being around that kind of work ethic and don't do anything but 6 days a week. Because the only day we took off was Sunday to go to church. You go from working all the time to not. It's definitely a change. Coach, man, it's good to see you again. I know we hadn't connected much here lately. You've been kind of busy running all over the place and doing the things, and appreciate you being here with us tonight.
I'm excited about it. Cool day.
Yeah, this is fun. I'm looking forward to going through this tonight. We've got some special guests going to join us later on here in the show. We're going to have Dallas Young, cornerback signee out of Gardendale High School, Gardendale, Alabama, about 15 minutes or so. Then we're going to have Davion Dozier later on the show, wide receiver signed today out of Moody High School in Alabama. And then we're also going to have Mr. Keith Grayson. Keith is going to join us from the 4th and 25 Club, which is the NIL collective. We're looking forward to having him be a part of the show later on. We're going to talk NIL and how that affects, college recruiting, things like that. So I'm looking forward to diving into this stuff. Let's just get started, man. Arkansas signed 19 of their 20 high school recruits today. Pretty much everybody that we thought was going to sign, Otis signed. Out of the 20 guys, we lost a couple last week, some decommitments. Ham out of Kansas, Tees out of Oklahoma ended up going to Texas A&M today. Ham signed with Kansas.
Stephen Johnson to Auburn was the other one.
Stephen Johnson ended up flipping to Auburn, which I'll be honest, I wasn't surprised. Backing up just a minute, talking about other teams, don't be surprised if Auburn doesn't finish out in the top 15 in recruiting this year, because Hugh Freeze has really made a push the last couple of weeks, talking to some of the high school coaches here in Alabama. A lot of buzz, a lot of excitement around that program. So, I know they made a push on some of our commitments, trying to flip some of the Birmingham guys in the last couple of weeks. But let's get started, man. The number one player in Arkansas's class this year, kid out of Lone Star High School in Frisco, Texas. Much needed position for the Razorbacks going forward in the next couple of years. Jalen Braxton, 5'11", 170-pound corner. He was a 4-star by most rating services. His national rank average was 135. Position rank was in the top 15 in the country at corner. Had 30 offers. was the 21 Texas District 5A two-way player of the year, and was in the top 250 players in the country. The thing that impressed me a lot about this kid is the speed. Yeah. He runs 100 meter in track, so he's a multi-sport athlete. But he ran a 10.8 in 100 meter, unwind aided. 10.8's freaking fast.
Yeah,
You know?
and he's a midterm guy too. About 12 of those high school guys are, and I really like him. I think he's an impact. I think he and Dallas Young and R.J. Johnson are all very good corners. I love Johnson's height, being 6'3", but I'm gonna tell you, Jalen Braxton to me reminds me a little bit of Quincy McAdoo, who we know how well he played. We moved over there, and so I think Braxton has a great future at Arkansas. I will be surprised if he is not in the rotation next season. I could see, assuming McLaughlin comes back and, and Quincy stays at corner, I could see Braxton and possibly even Dallas Young being those backup. I think Malik Chavis, but there again, he might even move to a safety spot. But they've got Braxton. They helped themselves in the secondary today, and I put Braxton as the number one defensive back they signed. They got about 6 or 7 of them, and I like them all, but I love that kid.
Well, he's the one that I got to be the most familiar with because his head coach, Jeff Rayburn at Frisco Lone Star, I coached him when I was coaching in Dallas. Okay. So I got a hold of Jeff today, his coach, and I just said, hey, give me a few words about him. Tell me what you think about him. I said, are we really getting, is this kid the real deal? Because he's our highest rated guy. And he said, I'm going to read to you some of the things that put down. He said, I love everything about him. He can do everything. He could play offense in college. If they want him to play offense, he's that good. Defense, special teams, whatever they want him to do. He said, and I said, did y'all play man? Did y'all play more zone? He goes, he is a lockdown corner. You can put him in man-to-man. I think he can play for y'all next year and lock down somebody on that side of the ball, which is obviously what we need some help with. And then what I like is, because, man, these kids go their first year, and their first year is a struggle. I mean, we got the Hyman kid from PA at Northwestern. The freshman year's tough. You don't get to play as much, or you should be the star, all this kind of stuff. Anyway, but his brother is a quarterback at Tulsa, so he understands that. His dad, what I really like about him, his dad trains a bunch of NFL D-backs.
Yep.
So he's got great fundamentals. He's got great coaching from his own father. And then Jeff also told me his kid's a very competitive kid, which is, you have to be. And said he's a really good leader. And then he told me he's really fast, obviously, the 10-800. He told me all that stuff too. But Jeff was real high on him, and Jeff is salt of the earth. And if he says that about the kid, then we got a good package, this kid.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see him. I mean, watching his tape, and I realize watching highlight reels on Huddle, I mean, these kids pick their best stuff. But the one thing that I saw with this kid is something that's hard to coach. The kid gets his head around on the football. Yeah. When the ball's coming in his direction, he's really diligent about making sure he gets his head around. Like, you can tell that he's been coached very, very well at a young age. Like, there's certain skills cornerbacks have got to have. I mean, I got a 16-year-old at Russellville. We're trying to drive that home with him now because he's going to be a major part of their defensive backfield next year as a junior. And getting him to understand, hey, you got to spin that head around. You got to look. Because if you're looking, it don't matter what's going on. As long as you're not jerking him by the collar, as long as you're looking for the football, you're good to go. So he's really, and like you said, Otis, I think the kid's going to have an opportunity to get some significant snaps next year at corner. We're not going to skip over Shamar. Shamar was the next highest rated player. Shamar has decided to push his signing day out to February. We're going to do this again in February. We're going to have some more players come through and some more guys come in and talk. It was just trouble getting everybody's schedules lined up with the holidays and things. But Shamar Easter with Ashdown High School, 6'5", 225 tight end, number one player in Arkansas. He's a 3-sport athlete, but he's elected to push his signing day out. Yeah. The next 2 guys, and I'm going to go ahead and touch on these guys together because they're brothers, Luke Haas, Dylan Haas out of Bixby, Oklahoma. Luke's a 6'3", 245-pound tight end. You know, I heard Coach Pittman talk about him today. Kid had 34 offers. He's an Under Armour All-American, 3-sport athlete, football, basketball, track, lined up at tight end, wide receiver, H-back, won 2 consecutive state titles, a COVID title in 20 and then won it again in 21. He's the number 2 prospect in Oklahoma, and he's the number 3 tight end H-back in the country. This kid excites me watching the way he played at Bixby, seeing some of the things I saw him on tape. My thing, and this is the thing I want you guys to kind of tell me what you think. We haven't seen Coach Browse like open it up with the tight ends much. Yeah. With a kid like Luke, because there was some speculation when Coach Loggins left and went to South Carolina that Luke might flip or might go another direction.
I thought he might go to Alabama. I
really did too. I mean, based on some of the stuff I was hearing out of Tuscaloosa, there was some smoke around. Yeah. Saban was up making a late push on him, trying to get him. They utilized the tight end a lot down in Tuscaloosa. We utilized it a little bit. I mean, Trey Knox, I think, caught 200 yards, 286 yards this year. Probably could have done more, I think. But do you think that this is going to help, like getting a kid like Luke that's got the hands like Luke? Do you think that's going to help Coach Browse open the offense up with tight ends?
I do, and I think also with Morgan Turner being there, I think will help too, Moses. I think Morgan Turner, and I think he's a specialist as a tight end coach. But yeah, I think Luke, honestly, I told somebody today, I think Luke could start at tight end next year. I'm not saying he will, but it would not surprise me if he started at tight end next season.
Well, I watched him on film, and I like the fact that he's a physical kid. You know, yeah. I watched him with the ball, try to run away from people, like, as good as a tight end can do, but he wasn't afraid to run them over. But, man, when they used him to pull and wrap around and lead up on some run plays and trap plays and stuff, and he's a physical kid. What I really like is he's not a long strider. He's a short strider. So he keeps his feet under him, his balance. He doesn't leave his feet much, and that enables him to stay with his blocks too. And I think that's what I think for a kid to play tight end for us, we knew Trey Knox was a receiver that moved to tight end. This kid is a natural blocker, so maybe they use him more, which opens up play action to the tight ends a little bit. And I'm not saying he deserves it yet, but if he comes in here and he is what we think he is, I think that's a possibility.
He is one of the most physical. I'm proud you said that, Coach, because he's probably the most of the tight ends I've seen the last 2 or 3 years, connected to Arkansas. Maybe didn't come here. He's probably the most physical one, and it's really not close. See, Easter's not near that as physical as Luke. Now, he's going to be a very good player, and he's got his own strengths. But Luke is probably, whether they came to Arkansas or not, of all the tight ends I've spent a lot of time on, he's the most physical one. And that was something, that was very good to point that out, because he is very, very, very physical. He will not shy away from contact. And you don't see that in a lot of tight ends anymore. You don't see that in a lot of them,
No, so many of them flex out so much now. Everybody wants the receiver guy, but when you need that blocker, sometimes they fail you there.
Well, and that's where I think Haas could do both. I mean, seeing the way that Bixby utilized his skill set, I mean, he reminds me, now his skills are different, but he reminds me it's like watching a little bit of young Hunter Henry. I mean, the ability to split out wide, do some things in the slot, getting that extra, because when you put a guy that's 6'3", 250 in a slot, or put him in an H position and have him running across the middle, safeties don't want to hit a dude like that. It becomes what they call in the NFL a business decision. Do you hit this dude, or do you try to whip his legs and knock him down? So it really excites me to see this kid. Moving down the line. Oh, hey, real quick, let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead and skip a couple of guys. Dallas Young, the all Alabama, played at the Alabama Mississippi All-Star game from Gardendale, Alabama's joining us. Dallas, man, we can't see you. Can you hear us?
Y'all see me now?
There he is. Welcome to the show, young man.
How the best light is. Yes, sir.
welcome to the show. Hey, appreciate you taking time to join us tonight. I just want to go around the room, introduce everybody. My name's Matt Moseley. I'm the host of Big Pig Energy. The other two guys on here, I mean, I'm sure you've talked to Mr. Otis Kirk before,
Yes, sir.
with Hogville and KNWA. And then also Coach Kevin Kelley, the former coach of Pulaski Academy. He's my co-host on Big Pig. We've got a couple of questions, man. I just want to kind of get your thoughts. What drew you to the Razorbacks? Like, what made Dallas Young want to come to Fayetteville?
Really, my dream school growing up was Florida State, so I always wanted to play out of state. I just didn't know where I really wanted to go to Florida State. I went down there one of my first college visits. Really didn't like it. Really didn't seem what I thought I would. My barber is Arkansas, happened to be from Arkansas fan, and I thought that he's like a big mentor for me. So he was like, man, I'm gonna take you down to Arkansas for a visit. He's like, just because they offered me, but I never really thought about going there. So I went down there for one game with him, not with my mom or dad. I was like, hey man, I kind of like it. It's just different. Like it's just football here. It's no other school. Like the fan love, like just like the bus driver there. Everybody was the Razorbacks. Everybody loved me. Just without barely even knowing me, just took me in like they knew me for years. So that's why I also like. So I was like, man, I got home, told my mom and dad. I was like, we got to get back down there. 2 weeks later, I'm back down there again. I was like, man, I really like it. My mom loved it. It was just really Sam Pittman. Like, my mom was just like, she really didn't like 8 hours, but she was like, that's just somebody that's going to help you experience up to be a better man in this real world. She was like, it's 8 hours, but I love Coach Pittman. I trust him. I trust him with you. So my mom was okay with it. And I just prayed about it because I thought I was going to commit. Like, I didn't think I was going to commit so early because I committed December of last year. So I'm like, man, I don't know. I was like, but I prayed and kept God first and prayed and prayed and prayed. And I just felt like that was the best fit for me. And everybody was telling me, you're dumb. You committed so early. It's 8 hours away, but I'm still here today. So,
man, and I'm going to be honest. I live in Birmingham. I've been to watch you play a couple of times, man. I'm impressed. Big dog, I'm looking forward to seeing you wearing that Razorback red running out of the A. What do you think? What does Dallas Young bring to the table next year when he gets to Fayetteville? What are you looking forward to bringing to the football team, the defensive backfield room next year?
I'm gonna bring energy. I'm gonna be enthusiastic. I have a high motor. I love my teammates. I love everybody to just push me, and I'm pushing them to get better. Running to the football, try to get forced fumbles. Just being around the football. I'm gonna fly around. I'm gonna be coachable, and I'm gonna make sure I have leadership.
Man, Dallas, awesome. This is Coach Kelley. You probably know me as the coach that never punts. If you've ever heard of that guy on overtime or whatever. Yeah. But anyway, I like to look at the other side. He asked you what you bring to the table. I watched your film. There's not much separation when you're guarding them. That's for sure. You do a nice job. You got good feet and all that. What do you think you need to work on the most as you watch these college games? What do you think you need to work on the most?
Really just like understanding formation. Just as like I played linebacker, basically DN my whole life to high school. I really didn't get a good coach to probably my 10th grade year. Later on my 10th grade year, so it really was just understanding the DB position. Because like 9th grade, I was really kind of raw with it. I mean, I only played DN, so it was just really I had speed and everything. But I was just trying to now with coaching and everything, just learning the game more, learning DB. That's all I've been trying to do my senior year, just learning formations and just so you can react faster because you know what's coming. Really just understanding the game because this is gonna help me improve my game. I know where the quarterback's going. Just reading the drop, just knowing different things about the offense. Hey, I'm in cover for this is these whole spots and what the offense trying to get to. So really just understanding the game and just continue to work on my footwork, my speed, and everything like that.
Man, that's a great answer because you haven't been doing it very long. You know this. How much smarter were you at playing defensive back from the first of the year to the end of the year? A lot.
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
And it's gonna be just like that in college. The more you play it, the more you're gonna learn. Your learning curve when you first start doing it is really fast. Yeah, I bet you were a freak show fast defensive end because you're pretty fast.
Yeah,
a fast D back is a crazy D end.
Yes, sir.
So
you might tell coaches to rush you off the edge a little bit.
I blitzed a lot.
I
can
mean,
take
you
on
had to see
Memphis,
the
all that.
packages. You had to see the packages they used to run with Joe Fouché, right? I mean, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, I've seen you go after the quarterback at Gardendale, so I'm looking forward to seeing some of that. Otis, what you got for Dallas, man?
Yeah, I wanted to ask him about Coach Williams. Have you talked to him on the phone, Dallas? The new defensive coordinator?
That's what we done had. I'm gonna tell him that right now. The best hire we done had. Just talking to my trainer. He coached at Auburn, so my trainer knows of him. Great guy. I can tell he's a player coach. Gonna get after it every day, but he's gonna expect the best from you. You gonna make sure he bring the best from you every day. Just cool guy, real cool guy. I can't just express enough. I'm very much excited about the hire. Enthusiastic. I just love he's bringing in some new energy that I think we need. Just something new. Nothing to take away from Coach Odom. I love him. Thanks him for recruiting me, but we just needed something different. Yeah, I think he's the one. I think he's the difference maker for us.
They're going to play a more aggressive defense. I'm sure you like that. More press man,
Sure.
more four-man front, not so much passive defense. And like you said, that's not a shot at anybody. But
we're going to send pressure. Yes, sir. We're going to send a lot of pressure on our DBs. Like, get a tight split. We're going to send that corner off. Wide split. We might send a safety. We're going to be blitzing from everywhere, blitzing from here, like he said. So we're coming for everybody. We're coming for people. I love it.
Hey, trust me. I'm a defensive line guy. I'm a defensive guy myself, Dallas. I love hearing that. That makes me feel good, you know. I mean, I've lived in Birmingham 25 years, and I know a lot of coaches that know Coach Williams, and I've heard a lot of the same thing. High energy, high motor. Players love him. Like he gets down, gets in the mud with them, it really gets ingratiated with his team and his position room. I know you went on a lot of visits, right? You've been to a lot of universities. What specifically, outside the coaches, facility-wise, that kind of stuff, how do you think Arkansas stacks up with some of the other teams you went and saw?
It's like, with Arkansas, I mean, facility, of course, it's cool, all that stuff, but really, like, to me, that stands out the most, it's the people. I'm telling you, it's the people in the environment that you're in. Like, different. I don't know how to. It's the people. I'm telling you, the people make Arkansas just. If it's a 6 out of 10, it's a 10 out of 10. Just from the people, it just brings everything in their whole environment is different. Like that's why I had to tell. Like I brought Davion down there to visit. That was just the same thing. It was just we fell in love with it. I would say that the town is just. It's not too big. It's not too small. It's just perfect. It's not too much going on. Everything really just kind of calm. That's why I liked it. I didn't want to go to a big school with a big town and all that type of stuff. I just want to keep focused on different football, get my education. That's why I wanted to be nothing else.
Awesome. Guys, you got any other questions for Mr. Young here?
No, finish strong in your grades. Get up there and listen and grind. You'll be glad you did.
Yes, sir. And
I have
a question
one last question, Dallas. Are you planning on enrolling in January? Or are you going to be a late enrollment?
Oh yes, sir. I'll be enrolling in January.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's one of the 12 high school players that will be here at midterm. Yeah, it's 12 of the 19 are coming at midterm that I know of anyway. And all 4 of the transfers.
Well, Dallas, man, we appreciate it. I know today's been a big day for you, man. It's a capstone marker in your life, man. Enjoy it. We appreciate you taking time to spend with us tonight. We look forward to seeing you this spring ball, and then seeing you this fall up in Fayetteville.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank y'all.
Hey, have a great night. Go Hogs, Dallas.
Thank you, Dallas.
Your YouTube videos.
We're going. We're having some technical difficulties tonight, Dallas. It's not live, but it will get posted later, so you'll be able to go back and watch it.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Dallas.
All right, yes, sir.
Have a good evening. Man, I really like that kid. Like,
I like that he said the people. I like that he said he liked the people.
Absolutely.
If that's what attracts you, you're going. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
That's kind of a mature thing to say.
He is, talking to some of the coaches that have worked with him, and Coach Etheridge, Keith Etheridge at Auburn, was the head coach for the Alabama All-Star team, and Keith's a good friend of mine. I was talking to Keith about him. because he had him the last week 10 days for the All-Star practices and stuff. And I said, what can you tell me about Dallas as a kid? He said, that kid's he's an old soul. He's a level above maturity wise some of these other cats. Like, he's all work. He's all work. And he said, y'all got a really good football player. And that's the one thing, and I want to get into this after a while, but that's the one thing about this class. And Otis, I'd love to hear your part on this. This class is not just like stud athletes. These are all really good football players. And I think that's something we've been missing. Like, these guys are football players. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they're football players and they're good people, and you can be both, and they are.
Yeah.
They are talented, and not only are they good people, and I have met them all except for the Dozier kids, the only one that I haven't seen talk to in person. Maybe I haven't seen them play, but I've seen them in person, all of them except Dozier. But not only are the kids very good kids, they're from good families too. And I'm telling you, you get very good football players from good families who are good people, and they're good people. You cut down on your mistakes doing that. Coach knows that, and everybody, it's common sense. And you cut out a lot of the issues. Now, you never know exactly how a kid's going to do when he gets away from home, but you do cut down the issues when you recruit better players or better people from good families who are also good players. You've got to have talent playing this.
That's right. That's right.
Just have good kids.
Moving down
every
the
minute,
list,
every minute that you don't have to deal with a kid off the field is a minute you can deal with what you need to on the field, and that's what it looks like.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Yep.
Next one on our list, man, Isaiah, and I'm gonna butcher his last name. Augustave, is that right? Is that the way you say it?
I think it is.
Yeah, out of Naples, Florida. 6'2", 195-pound running back, was a 4-star. I believe he was 323rd nationally, like 21st in his position nationally, 60th best player in Florida. Had 23 offers, and this is a theme. This kid was a two-sport athlete. I want the young athletes that hear this. My son's probably going to watch this later. Multiple sport athlete. You ain't got to focus, okay? 11-second 100-meter, fast as grease of lightning. His junior year stats, I couldn't find his senior year stats, but I did find his junior year stats. 950 on the ground, 16 TDs, averaged 8.7 yards a carry at Naples. He was an Under Armour All-American this year. I think position-wise, he was number 22 in the country as a running back. He was a top 300 player by ESPN. Really excited. That just adds more depth to that running back room. We've got Rocket, we got AJ, we got Davion. We lost James Joyner, unfortunately, to the transfer portal. Hate seeing James leave because I really like watching him play at Parkview, but I think it just adds more depth. He also is a really good pass catcher out of the backfield. I don't know. I think he's got an extra gear. Watching him on tape, Otis, I'd love to hear your take on this, but watching Isaiah on tape, it seemed like he's got a little bit quicker gear than Rocket had his freshman year as far as being when he gets that second level, he's gone.
Well, he's a natural running back, and he did share carries there with a kid who I think went to Penn State. There was 2 running backs on that team. And, here's a funny story on him. I met him when he visited, and when he first came here and committed, people were like, why are they recruiting him? I mean, why? He wasn't a big name. But then it wasn't long until people started seeing him play. He blew up. He went from a medium 3-star to a 4-star, and everybody then was worried about being able to keep him because everybody in the country came in on the kid. And but if they watched him play, they knew why. I'll tell you where he has it over Rocket. Rocket was an athlete who played receiver, some running back, some safety. Maybe this kid's a natural running back. He's not going to go through that learning process of he doesn't have that having to think to do it. Rocket did at first because he hadn't played that much running back. This kid has a lot of natural moves at running back that Rocket had to develop. He's already developed those.
Well, one thing that I saw on tape that stuck out with me watching some of his junior year stuff, the offense was somewhat similar to what he's going to run in Arkansas. I mean, it was kind of that shoot and veer kind of stuff, but he instinctually he goes north and south. He's not trying to slide and bounce everything outside. He's not scared and I think it's because of his size. He's not scared to get in between the guards and the tackle and get in the gaps and really pound a rock up the middle. That's one thing that really impressed me about him. Next on the list, Luke Brown, Henry County, Paris, Tennessee, 6'5", 315 pounds, 4-star, 361 in the nation, 19th in the country at his position. He was the 8th best player and the 2nd best offensive lineman prospect out of Tennessee this year. Tennessee couldn't keep their top 2 guys at home. Both of them left, which, that says a lot about Tennessee to my estimation. But this kid had 28 offers. What impressed me about Luke, he's above average bend for an offensive lineman. He bends very well. He's very flexible at the hips. He's explosive off the ball. He's got great feet. He's got good quickness. I think he fits well as a right tackle. I know Coach Pittman doesn't necessarily like throwing freshmen out on the tackles very much. In the past, I know when he was here at his previous stint as the O-line coach, he would play like he played Kirkland and Skipper on the inside at guard, got him some snaps, and then moved him to the outside the next season. I could see Luke Brown competing for a spot next year on that offensive line because there's going to be some holes.
Yeah, he came in for a junior day, prospect day, whatever you want to call it. He came in and fell in love with the place, but he didn't have his mother with him then. But he set up another visit for like a month or 2 later and came back. And when he did, he committed. I mean, he went public like the next Monday or Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday after the visit, but he knew he was coming here. All he wanted his parents to sign off on it. And they did. He came for that prospect day and just simply fell in love with the place. It goes back to what we've said forever. You get them on campus, you've got a chance. I'm not going to say you may not, you're not going to get everybody you get on campus, but you're not going to get them. If you can't get them in for visits, you're not going to get them. So it gives you a chance. And with this staff, with Sam Pittman particularly, if he can get them in for a visit and they sit down with him, you hear what the kids say about him, and that staff, and people trust him with what he says and stuff. And Luke was one of those kids that did that. And he is a very good player, very good.
Yeah, and he's one of the offensive linemen. Yeah.
He is a big. Just watching his highlights, I looked over him. He's a good run blocker, and that's what we need to have. And I watched him do his pass block, and I was a little concerned about that. Does a good job, but I think it's just he uses size really well. Mm-hmm. And that sounds weird, but what I mean is a lot of guys that are built like he is lean out too much. They lean too much into their defender. The guy push pulls and can get around him in the pass play. He keeps his feet under him and does a lot of good things. He's got pretty good hips, so I think obviously that's a good pickup for him, but definitely a guy that can do both. I hate it when we get a pass blocker or a run blocker and say, well, we'll teach them the other. I think they can in some aspect, but this kid can do both right now pretty well.
Yeah.
Moving along, the next guy on the list, Malachi Singleton, the only quarterback recruited in the freshman class. North Cobb High School, Kennesaw, Georgia. I got to see him play his junior year over at Kennesaw. 6'1", 225, lead 11 Nike quarterback. I think he was the 8th rated dual threat quarterback in the country this year. Had 16 offers. He's strong, got a really accurate arm, deep, ran a RPO heavy system in high school, high level pocket presence. Like the kid's got a sixth sense about being in the pocket. He's not scared to break and run when he has to. 2021 North Cobb Player of the Year, had 2,300 yards passing, 24 TDs, 3 interceptions. His junior year had 1,000 yards on the ground with 25 TDs. He's been injured most of 2022 with a foot injury. Primarily missed most of the season.
Played 2 games. Yeah. He played 2 games.
Yeah. Really looking forward to getting him in the quarterback room. They added Jacoby Criswell. Coach, we talked about him a couple of weeks ago. Last time we were together.
Yeah.
Love Jacoby.
Love that kid.
I think Sam getting another shot at Jacoby is a huge step.
Yeah.
My thing is this. I hope that, because odds are Jacoby's going to take over when KJ leaves. I hope Malachi understands, stick with it, stick it out. learn, and do
I
kind of
hope
like what
Malachi
KJ
says.
did.
I hope Malachi says, "Put me at receiver," because he can play receiver.
Yeah, kid's fast.
Quarterbacks have the best hands on the team.
Yeah,
because they catch they catch every ball thrown back to them before we start a play. They catch the center snap and all that. It's amazing how I've had success picking quarterbacks at receiver. And look at Matt Jones, that played quarterback at Arkansas, goes and he makes the NFL as a receiver and stuff like that. This kid's got the size and the speed and the ability to do that. Now, that's not saying he can't win the job, but if he doesn't, assuming he's a good kid, works hard, he's a guy that I think could really help us in other spots too.
Yeah, we're going to try to get him on the show in our February signing period. We had talked about getting him on tonight. Talked to his mom, and they had a family event, and he couldn't make it. So look forward to getting him in the fold in the spring. Because I think
how
he's
fast
also,
do they say this kid runs?
I think
so fast on film.
Yeah, he does. He absolutely does. And I'm looking forward to seeing him healthy. I mean, he's out of the boot now. I think he's well into his therapy and should be. If I'm not mistaken, Otis, he is enrolling in January. Is that right?
Yeah, he is. I saw him when he came up in early December for his official visit. I saw him, and yeah, he was walking good. I'm gonna tell you, that is the most improved room on the team, is that quarterback room. Yeah. I'm gonna tell you, they've got KJ, you've got Jacoby Criswell, and you've got Malachi. That room. When KJ went out last year, they were in deep trouble. It was obvious. That room now, and I'm gonna be honest with you, they were on 3 quarterbacks and Chad took his son, and Chandler was a good player, but I thought Jacoby, they had Chandler Morris, they had Jacoby, and they had Haynes King, and they were looking at. And I honestly thought Jacoby was the best of the 3. I thought all 3 were very good, but I thought Jacoby was the best. And you're talking about a good kid too, man. I mean, you're talking about a good kid.
We played the kid his senior year in the playoffs, the semifinals, I think it was. And Cody McNabb does a great job coaching down there too. And we geared our whole defense to stop him, and he still threw for 300 yards and ran for 200 on us. We beat them in a high-scoring game. It was like 60-something to 50-something or whatever. But we were like, we've got to stop Jacoby Criswell. And we put everything into it, and we could not stop. And he throws the ball. It's effortless. I love his feet. What I hope is, I think you're right, Otis. This is the best quarterback room we've had in a while. We've made no bones about it on our show right here. We better do a darn good job of developing these guys. I don't think we've developed KJ very well. And I think he could have been better. And he's obviously very good. I think we could have developed in the passing game a little bit better. It's tough to do both, but we need to develop these guys. So if we like to run our quarterback so much, if one goes out, it's not the end of the world. Everybody's like, well, KJ's out, we're not going to be very good. And we weren't, but it shouldn't be that way. If you're going to run your quarterback and get him hit, you better develop your other one, because he's going to have to play some.
Well, I mean, you go back to when Bobby Petrino was here, when Ryan Mallett got hurt, Tyler Wilson stepped right in, went right to work. Like there was no drop off.
Yeah.
Real quick, we got a guest joining us. I want to get to him in just a second, but first I need to make sure we shout out our sponsor, Mid Delta Land Management out of Lake Village, Arkansas, serving the entire state of Arkansas with specific land management strategies targeted to get the best value out of your property and increase your annual income return and produce premium land appreciation. Call our partners at Mid Delta Land Management today at 870-737-2217 to schedule an appointment. Joining us live, man, Davion Dozier, wide receiver, Moody High School, Moody, Alabama, right down the road from where I live. I've seen this kid play live. He's exciting. He really fires me up at the receiver position. 6'3", 195, got his 4th star. I think, is that right, Davion? You got your 4th star last week at the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game.
Yes, sir.
Had a touchdown catch in that game. 22nd rated player at his position, 13 offers. You're a 2-sport athlete. Man, I saw some tape of you playing basketball in Daphne this week. Brother, you can get up, man. You got some up.
Oh, yes, sir.
I mean, you can jump now. Two-sport athlete. You had 58 catches for 1,300 yards, 19 TDs, 22.4 yards a catch. Again, played in the Alabama Mississippi All-Star game, which is always a huge thing. I love going to that. I missed it this year because they moved it to Mobile from Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, I want to introduce you to a couple folks. I mean, I'm sure you've talked to Mr. Otis Kirk with Hogville before. And then also Coach Kevin Kelley, former coach Pulaski Academy. You probably know him as the coach that never punts out of Arkansas. We appreciate you taking time to join us. I know, you and I have been kind of going back and forth via text message, and then Mr. Pelkey, old friend of mine, high school friend of mine, teammate of mine from Pelham.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, man, what drew you to want to be a Razorback?
Really, it was like when I first got on campus and how the coaches, like Coach Guyton and Coach Pittman and Coach Fountain, talked to me and how basically the way they recruited me real hard. They recruited me harder than a lot of schools. They always text and call me, made sure I was doing all right, made sure my family was doing all right. And it was just the hospitality that I got from them when I first went that drew me towards them more than a lot of other schools.
What do you think as an incoming freshman? I mean, I know what your skill set is, man. I've seen you live. I saw you against Leeds, man. That was a hell of a game. I mean, y'all came up on the short end of that stick. But I watched that Leeds game, and I saw how hard you played. I saw how hard you blocked for your running backs. What do you think you bring to the table as a Razorback next year as a freshman?
I think I bring a lot to the table based off how they run their offense for like a bigger receiver like me. Like I can win a lot of one-on-one matchups. I'm a bigger receiver, so I can block DBs on the perimeter for my running backs and all that, like you said, stuff like that.
Coach Kelley, you got anything you want to ask Davion?
Yeah, I always like to ask Davion. My favorite question is, what do you think you need to work on the most? I watch you do a lot of things. I think you're right. You're a jump ball guy. You high point it. You're big. You're not afraid to use your body from what I saw, and you got enough speed to score from anywhere. What do you think you need to work on, as you watch the college game and as you see those other guys and you've watched some film of other guys going in, what do you think you need to work on the most?
Since college ain't nothing like high school ball, so I know I'm gonna have to be more physical than I am now. Is what I'm gonna have to work on most, and basically just working as hard in the weight room and stuff like that.
That's probably a good thing. You're right. You get there, it's a different physicality. But you've got the body for it. But you're right. If you'll work in the weight room, then it'll make it an easier transition. That's for sure.
Yes, sir.
Tell me what, when you went to Fayetteville, like, was there one thing when you got up there, was there one thing that stuck out over another about being in Fayetteville?
You want me to like go off my when I came during the season or in the summer?
Just your entire experience of the recruitment process going to Fayetteville. I know you went up a couple of times. I just know our viewers would be interested to know like what you found, like what was the coolest thing for you being a freshman or being a young kid being recruited by the Razorbacks. Like what stuck out in Fayetteville? Like what did you love about Fayetteville?
Honestly, it was that college game day experience is what I'm gonna have to say. It was like how many people was there, because I think I went to the first game when they played Cincinnati, where it was more people than I think it's ever been. It was like over 80,000, and they were loud the whole game. Like it wasn't points where they just went quiet. It was like the stadium was loud the whole game. I ain't never been in something like that before. And like outside the stadium, how everybody tailgating and stuff like that. It was a crazy experience for me when I first went up there on a game day.
Otis, you got anything for Davion?
Well, just good to talk to you because you're the only person in the class I didn't see when you came up to the Cincinnati game. I was actually in the hospital in a coma, so I was just trying to live, so I didn't get to see you. You're the only one in the class that I haven't seen in person. But what I will say is with you and Andrew Armstrong, Andrew's 6'5", 189. You're 6'4", about 195, I think, something like that. you guys have got some size out there at receiver. You should be mismatches, don't you think, for cornerbacks and stuff with you two guys out there with that kind of size?
Say it again.
Well, just you and Andrew Armstrong, not the junior club, but the transfer portal kid. He's 6'5", 189. You're 6'4", 195 or something like that. I just think you guys present some problems for opposing cornerbacks because most cornerbacks are not 6'4" or something, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I think your size is going to be I'm saying I think your guys' strength out there will be some size out there at receiver, like the 50-50 balls and stuff.
Yes, sir.
The one thing I noticed on tape with you, Davion, is a lot of times you were waiting on the football.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and your quarterback, good quarterback, not as strong armed as a KJ Jefferson.
Nah.
I mean, what are you doing to prepare yourself, in the off season, getting ready to go? Because I think you're not going to enroll until the summer, right? Till August.
Yes, sir. I don't. I get there in the first week of June. Like as soon as I graduate high school, I'm gonna be down there.
Yeah. What are you doing right now to get ready for somebody with a stronger arm like that? Is there anybody you're working with, or?
Well, as of right now, I'm in basketball. So when when we just hired the new strength coach. Mm-hmm. So like once they get done with their bowl game and stuff like that, I'm gonna be able to get the workouts, and I'm gonna be going through the workouts and stuff that they do there, and I'm gonna be with my strength coach here, one of the best strength coaches I think in the state, Cam Willis. Yeah. He gonna help. He help us a lot, and I know Cole. He ain't like KJ, but me and him gonna be on the field a lot.
That's awesome. I know Coach Willis, man, and guys, when he says Coach Willis is one of the top strength coaches in the state of Alabama, this dude's legit. Like he's building. Coach Gaines at Moody is building a program. I know there's another young man at Moody that Arkansas is really looking at, a running back that Davion, you're gonna have to help us recruit. You're gonna help us keep him home. Now I know Auburn's kind of got his eye a little bit, but we got to get in his ear. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've been on him.
And then your cousin Kavion, man, we got to get him too. So, man, we appreciate you joining us tonight, Davion. I know you had some stuff going on, but man, it was a special day for you, and we appreciate you being part of the show. Man, don't be a stranger. I'll be in touch with you soon. Let's connect up and keep this conversation rolling, okay?
Yes, sir.
Hey, thank you again. Go Hogs.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. See you.
Brother Keith. How is the world in Phoenix, Arizona, my friend?
Good enough to do the show outside in December.
That's what I'm saying. We're about halfway through the list, Keith. I know we were going to do NIL stuff right at 9:00. Run a little bit behind. We had some technical difficulties. If it's all right with you, we're going to bounce through this list pretty quick, and then we'll get into NIL stuff.
Hey, if you need to text me, so you need me on later, just let me know.
It's up to you. If you want to hang out, you can, or we can get you back in a little bit. It's up to you, brother.
I'll mute and I'll sit on the sidelines until I find something important to say.
Roger that. Going back to Davion real quick, like I'm really excited about this kid. I really am. I mean, I think he's one of those guys. I know he got the fourth star, and I know a lot of people don't put a lot into the stars, but I've seen this kid play a lot. And I was not like picking on his quarterback at all at Moody. The kid that was at Moody, Cole's a good football player. He's going to Kennesaw. He recruited going to a smaller FCS school, but he had to wait. If you watch Davion's tape, he had to wait a lot on the ball. Cole's not very strong throwing the deep ball. Good intermediary as far as, within 15 yards. Anything longer than that, high arc, floats, doesn't get there. There's no zip behind it at all. I think seeing him, his biggest learning curve to me is going to be, and Coach, I'd love to get your take on this. His biggest learning curve for me is going to be catching the ball from a guy that can get it down getting it down the field. So
yeah, that's a big difference. I mean, it's a big difference. Catching the ball at 40 yards is catching it at 50, 55. It's also a big difference in the speed. I mean, Peyton Manning, his last couple of years at Denver, when he was throwing an out route, it was going about 48 miles an hour. Okay, that's how fast his ball was going. He's probably looking at least a 10 to 15 mile an hour difference in a ball coming at him. In a football, that's a big deal. It takes a lot of getting used to because they're used to turning their head at a certain time and looking up, and here comes the ball. You got to get there sooner. You got to turn it sooner because that thing's on you before you know what happened. So there's going to be an adjustment period when you have a quarterback like he had that's an accurate quarterback, but not as strong as an arm for sure. You know, it was like if you've ever watched those old videos of guy talking about when they walked into camp with Brett Favre for the first time. Guy threw the ball 100 miles an hour. They're like, I'm talking to Anthony Lucas about that many times. He said, Brett Favre almost killed me. I'd look up on a slant route and the ball was in my stomach, and I'm used to it being halfway there, you know. So a little bit of an adjustment, but he's a kid that I think can make that. And his size, I mean, you know, God made you a certain size. You can't change that. And he's definitely got that.
The one thing with Davion that I keep his cousin Kavion, I get the names mixed up. With Davion, he's one of those 5-point guys. Like he can catch the ball at 5 different points. I mean, he can go high, he can go outside, he can go down low. I saw him at Moody when that Leeds game specifically. That's a border thing. We're talking 5 miles apart from the high schools. Big game, kind of like the Salt Bowl. They hate each other.
Yeah.
Plus him having family playing on the other team, there's some animosity there too. A lot of smack talking. He was running a slant and go route, and the guy Cole threw the ball, and it was low, and Davion reached behind him with his left hand and snagged that ball about 2 feet off the ground. I mean, just with one hand. I mean, just the instant, because he was covered up, and the only way he was going to catch it was throw his hand low, and he just palmed it. And when I saw that, that's when I was like, this kid's got some. He's rough, but he's got some skills. You get him with a Coach Guyton type guy, he's going to be a good one long term. Quincy Rhodes Jr., North Little Rock, kid out of Jacksonville. Really excited to see this kid get on campus. 6'7", 255, defensive end. They got him listed as an edge player. He's the number 2 rated player in the state of Arkansas. He had 10 offers, 2-sport athlete, football and track. Had 66 tackles this year, 9.5 sacks. Can't do anything but help the defensive line for Arkansas. I think he could be a good bookend to Landon Jackson, because if I'm not mistaken, I think Coach Williams is going to go more to a 4-3 type defensive scheme next year, with the running the extra linebacker, more of a base 4-3 base defense. So the defensive ends are going to have to step up their game a little bit, especially against the pass, and be more active in the run game. But with Quincy, I know there was some talk Quincy might flip last minute, and he signed with Razorback, so it's all great. I'm excited to see what he's able to do. He's got a little twitch, Coach. I don't know if you've seen this kid live. He's got a little twitch.
I didn't see him live. I watched his film, and what I was really excited about is he made a ton of plays from the backside defensive end. Quarterback's moving away from him, rolling away from him, plays away from him. He gets there quick, and he's a big kid. He's got he's worked on some pass moves. And, man, I was really excited because a lot of guys on the defensive line, play goes the other way, quarterback goes the other way. They start jogging to make it look like they're trying, but they're pacing themselves and saving themselves. And, of course, you watch his highlights. He's going to show you the good ones. But, man, there was play after play. It looked like he could have given up on, and somebody else made the quarterback hold up, and, boom, he was there. And he's got a little violence in him too. And, that's going to be a good thing. I think this is one of my favorite kids. And I'm a little biased because he's in Central Arkansas, but I'm a big fan of this kid.
Well, watching him a little bit in his high school tape, and this may be an unfair comparison, but I saw a lot of Jamal Anderson in him. Just that length.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. Good comparison.
Like that lean, that length, that long, because I think he's got like an 82-inch wingspan or something. I mean, I got long arms, but this joker, but that twitch, man. When he was lining up off the outside gap and just going pure rush, man. He was, quick.
But he's got some discipline because they were running some zone read plays on him where he's got to check quarterback, before he caves down on the running back, and they're blocking down and making him check the quarterback. So he's having to hesitate. And then he's still quick enough, like you say, twitchy enough to come down and make a play on the running back too, while he's doing his job with the quarterback first. That's impressive because
Yeah.
you can't get college guys to. Heck, they can't get some NFL guys to do that. And this kid's doing that at this age. That's impressive.
I saw him against Fort Smith Northside live, and they were double and triple teaming him, and he was still finding a way to make the play. Or he was just clearing the way for the linebackers to just make the plays. And they were the underdog that night, and they beat Northside pretty bad. And he was a big reason why.
Well,
he dominated that game. Even if he didn't make the tackle, he took three Northside guys on him, and it freed up other people to make plays. He's a very good player. I was lucky to see him play live that night. That was during the bye week, and with Arkansas. And yeah, he's a good player. He's a very, very good player. I was a little leery of Oklahoma coming in on him, but he stayed strong to the Hogs.
Yeah.
That was a great pickup for them. I mean, you can't let kids like that leave the stage.
You can't. And looking at him, he's one of those guys, like, there's only a handful of them that I see on here, maybe 5 or 6, that I think could get significant run next season as freshmen. He's one of them. Like, I could see him as he learns the system, and I believe he's another of the 12 that's going to be up there in January. Once he learns Coach Williams' system and gets the plays, gets his responsibilities under control, I think he'll progress. I think we'll start seeing more of him and hear his name called quite a bit. He's just too big and too fast not to play at that edge position. Next kid, man, this was another one I've watched play a lot. TJ Metcalf, Pinson Valley High School, Pinson, Alabama. 6'1", 185-pound safety, got his 4th star at the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game, was named the defensive MVP, had the game-winning pick, took it back for a touchdown to beat Mississippi in that game down in Mobile a couple of weeks ago. Had 24 offers. He was the number 51 safety in the nation. To me, this kid is a game wrecker at safety. Like, he plays downhill. He plays violent. You read his Twitter or his Instagram, social media, like his bios, I hate wideouts. Like, that's the first thing he says. Like, he hates wide receivers. Love the way this kid plays. I know his dad, Coach Metcalf, a great dude over there at Pinson. Looking forward to seeing what this kid's able to do. He's one that I've got marked on my list to watch next fall, because I think with the losses at safety that we've had, pending anything in the portal, I think this kid's going to have an opportunity to get some time next year.
A younger brother's a pretty good ball player too.
Yes, he is. Yes, he
is.
is.
In the junior class, and he's got an Arkansas offer, just like Brad Spence' younger brother, sophomore, got an offer.
Yep.
Family connections there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing that I love about what Coach Pittman's doing with Alabama and Georgia. He's making inroads and getting some kids that a couple of years ago we wouldn't have got. I mean, there's some smaller high schools, and I say smaller. Pinson's a 6A, Moody's a 5A, 4A, 5A, depending on what they do year to year. There's some really good football, and I'm not talking just like the stars part of it. I'm talking good developmental football players in this area and in Georgia that they're really focusing on. They're not taking like they're doing their homework with these guys. Like, these cats can go. Next on the list, we're getting close to the end of it. Paris Patterson, East St. Louis High School, Illinois, 6'6", 345, projects to play guard. He played multiple spots on the O-line in high school. I believe he was the number 7 prospect in Illinois. Kid's just huge. He reminds me build-wise a lot of Denver Kirkland. He's just a big boy,
Yeah.
But he plays violent. He loves the contact. He's got that killer mentality that you want to see a guard have. Like, he wants to take somebody out every chance he gets. The thing that concerns me, his pass protection's not great. Footwork's a little gimpy sometimes, but I think he's more of a project, but I think with a guy like Sam Pittman and then Cody Kennedy, I think this is a kid 2 years into the program. I think this is a kid that could do some damage for the Razorbacks.
Honestly, that's probably what you really want from your offensive lineman anyway, instead of running them out there as a freshman, unless they're a freak kid like a Sean Andrews or something. It's not the worst thing in the world to develop an offensive lineman. But yeah, he's I saw him at a camp when he earned scholarship here at Arkansas, and he earned that scholarship. He was out there. He looked really good at the camp, and like you said, he's got a little bit of a mean streak in him, and it's not dirty. Just he's aggressive. I mean, he you better be ready if you're lined up against him because he's going to come at you on every play. He did at that camp anyway. He came at everybody, and he came back for the picnic that they had. He's a ball player. It's going to take a while, but that's okay because really, that's not the worst thing in the world if an offensive lineman, takes a couple of years.
Well, it's 6'6", 345. They've got to get him from 345 down to like 330 and 330 of muscle because he
needs a body change,
he needs to change his body a little bit. That's exactly right, Coach.
But he is a big kid, and like you said, I think O-line and quarterback are the two you don't want to start as freshmen.
No,
yeah, you want to develop those guys. He's going to be playing grown men. I mean, he's going to be playing, and he is a grown size man. Yeah. But he needs to develop a little bit of man strength to go with that body, and that transformation will only occur with age and weights and nutrition. And hopefully he'll get all that early when we get up there.
Yeah. Next on the list, Caleb James. This kid, I think, has been committed since he was a junior out of Mansfield, Texas, 6'4", 250 defensive lineman. Another guy that I saw has got a lot of twitch, played inside and outside. Arkansas, I think as far as the defensive line goes, the biggest need is going to be guys at that defensive tackle position. The guys that are going to play on the nose can play in the middle in between the A and the B gap. And this kid, I think with a little bit of aging, a little bit of weight, a little bit, because he's a specimen. Physically, he's got the build and the tools and all that. Love the mullet. So, Caleb, if you're watching, I know we reached out to you, try to get you on tonight. We're going to have to play with some stuff, get you on in February. Love the haircut, brother. That's D-line material right there as far as I'm concerned. But I think they've got to change the body with him a little bit, get a little stronger up top because his arms, for 6'4", he's got shorter arms than some of the other guys at his same size. But he's got a lot of experience playing inside and on the edge. I think he was in the top 50 defensive linemen in the country, top 100 players in Texas. Anytime you can get a guy that's top 100 in the state of Texas, I think it's a good thing. 50 tackles, 9 sacks, 2 fumbles this year, and a block kick on a field goal. Really excited about getting him on campus. I know
where are they projecting him to play?
I have heard both sides, Coach, and I'd love to get Otis' take on this too.
Well,
and
I don't mean
defensive
just that.
end, and I've heard defensive tackle too.
I have asked him.
He played inside a lot.
Yeah, I asked him about that, and he said that they're preparing him to possibly play all 4 positions. I mean, both tackles, nose guard, whatever, and both ends. I mean, they feel like he can play any of that. It's going to maybe part of it, maybe what you were just talking about, is body development stuff. If they can get him, say, 300 and he carries it well, he'll probably obviously go inside. If not, if it's 275 and they feel like that's his max, then he'll probably play in. But he's capable of playing either one.
At 275, I mean, he's violent. And the thing I loved about his tape, and go back and watch Caleb play, he's violent with his hands. And that's something at high school, not all the kids, especially the big kids, it's hard to get them to understand. They want to lock up and he'll come over top and chop the crap out of somebody. Like he's already learned, hey, I got to use my forearms to get that separation, to get in the backfield. That's how he got some of the sacks that he got. It was not him just trying to bull rush and bully people. He was using some technique. And that's something that's hard to do with a 17, 18-year-old kid in high school, because you give them too much to do, and Coach knows this. You give a kid too much to do, their head goes all funky and they can't do anything right, But this kid, you can tell he's worked his upper body. Again, he's a physical specimen.
He's extremely smart and very coachable. That's 2 things I will say about him. And I know Coach Kelley likes that combination. He's extremely smart and very coachable. And you don't have to tell him very many times. You can tell him once, he's going to do it. He's extremely smart. And like I say, he's very coachable.
I hope you know what, even if they can't get him up to 300, man, at 280 with what looks to be his strength, and if considering that it goes up relatively with his age, I wish we had a little faster D tackle, an Aaron Donald type. Nobody's going to be Aaron Donald, but you're right. Works his hands a lot, quick off the line, and a slow D end is going to be a quick tackle. And I think that would fit him well if we could get him, 285 and leave him at tackle. I think he'd be a really good one there. And be, and he may have enough speed ultimately to be a DN, but you better be darn fast to be able to contain the backs you're going to see and the quarterbacks you're going to see in the SEC.
I think he's going to be an inside player. In my opinion, I think he's going to be an inside player, but they have told him that they'll look at him both. But yeah, I feel like watching him play, I think he's more of an interior. I think that's where his future is, because I think he can, even if he gives up 20 pounds, I think he's going to make up for it with his intelligence and quickness, And he can make some plays that, some kids can't make, because he's going to be hard to defend. I mean, they're going to have a hard time blocking him.
Yeah, well, 80-90% of the plays I saw him, he was inside. He might have been the end man in a 3-man front, but he was in a 4-eye inside the tackle. Yeah. So he's used to playing there and fighting two guys and keeping his eyes up and seeing what's in the backfield and that kind of stuff.
Well, one thing I saw, he's really good at getting his pads level. I mean, he keeps the shoulders over his knees. He doesn't reach and overreach. And defensive tackles, I know from personal experience, I used to get a mop handle to the back of the head all the time by my D-line coach in high school, because I would get my head too far out over my knees, and he would just hit me with a mop stick, to get my attention, teach me to pull that head back, because I was always overreaching. So next on the list, Christian Ford out of McKinney, Texas, 6 foot, 185 safety, had 19 offers, another two-sport athlete. Ran a 10.92 100-meter, and he was the anchor on a 4x400. I think that was selected for state at McKinney. Hadn't been able to find a lot of tape on Christian. I know that he was another early commitment out of McKinney. Played significant snaps from his sophomore year all the way to his senior year in high school. Looking forward to seeing him get on campus. Carson Dean out of Hebron in Carrollton, Texas, 6'4", 240 defensive lineman, 17 offers, two-sport athlete, ran the 4x100 to 4x200, and he was the number 29 offensive or outside linebacker in the country this year. I think they've got Carson projected to play kind of like Bumper did, move him out to like will linebacker.
Drew Sanders part 2. I'm not saying he's good as Drew Sanders, but he is going to be that type player. He's going to go from the edge to inside linebacker. He's going to do like Drew Sanders did. And
that's lofty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's got a lot of the same strengths.
He's fast. He really is fast, Coach. I mean, watching him for a 6'4" kid, 240 to anchor the 4x200.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Watching his highlights, I was impressed. And Drew Sanders' name popped through my head, but I wasn't going to say it on here. I'm thinking that's pretty. I mean, we're talking about one of the first, consensus type All-Americans we've had in a while. So, but the kid looks really, really good. He reminds me a little bit too of the Van Der Esch guy the Cowboys have.
Yeah. He's
a little longer, a little taller, can come off the edge. I like this kid.
I could also see,
just watching him on film.
You could take a linebacker that is twitchy at that size. They could put 30 pounds on him and move him to the end. Put a hand in the dirt and have him coming off the end. Play standing up and use him in a rush situation on third down. So I mean, that kid, I think, even though he's rated as an offensive or an outside linebacker like the Will a lot in high school, like I literally could see him if he puts on some weight and doesn't lose any speed, might be a defensive end for us in the future. Another kid, man. Go ahead, Coach.
Oh, I was going to say they used him a lot at stand-up defensive end, and I'm proud to say that's my first school district I ever had a job in was Carrollton, and they did a good job of using him in different spots. But God, when they put him in a passing down as a rush end, he is a monster.
Yeah,
unfair.
And he violently throws the other team down too. I mean, the quarterback, the running backs, those guys. He may have to watch that. They may call him for roughing penalties for throwing the guys down so hard.
The one thing that I saw Carson's got to work on is he's not going to be able to, like at Hebron, he was bullying people. He's not going to be able to do that in the SEC. He's going to have to get some technical skill to be a pass rusher in the SEC.
I don't know. He went up against. I watched him against one dude that is probably 6'5", 290, and can move. And I thought, okay, here's one. We'll get to see how good this kid is. And he was still pretty dang good. So he's now. You're right. He's bullying most of them, but I saw a little bit of technical skills when he needed them.
Yeah.
Alex Sanford, man, we had Alex lined up. Alex called in late and said, "Hey, Mr. Moseley," he said, "I wanted to come, but I had to work." We got this kid out of Oxford High School in Oxford, Mississippi, 6'3", 240, projects to play inside linebacker. He was also at the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game, was one of the defensive MVPs for Mississippi in a loss to the state of Alabama. Man, I'm really excited about Alex. I mean, watching him, you turn the tape on him, he's raw, but he's freaking athletic, and he's got a lot of lean for an inside linebacker. I think he's only really played inside linebacker like 2 years. So he's kind of rough, but with the linebacker coaching we've got, I think he's going to have an opportunity to grow in that position and really do some damage, backing up Pooh Paul in the middle.
He looks like the kids that they've played against for years. When I first saw him, I walked up behind him, and I didn't know who he was. And I thought, man, this must be a defensive lineman. I'm telling you, he looks like the linebackers that Arkansas has played against at Alabama, Auburn, LSU, and all Georgia, and all those schools through the years. This is a big kid, and he's, except when he's standing next to Quincy Rhodes. I don't know if you saw my tweet, or it wasn't mine, but I retweeted it. He was standing next to Quincy Rhodes at the All-American game. Quincy Rhodes made him look small, and Sanford is not a small kid, but he looks small next to Quincy. But he looks like the linebackers that they've played against. He's got a chance, and that's the thing I like about this group of linebackers. They're not recruiting the 5'11", 230-pound kids or something. I know Mike Singletary was great and all that, but they're not recruiting. Though they're getting the bigger kids, and they're getting what they said they couldn't in the what I've had some of them tell me they couldn't get in the past. Mike sure has been getting them.
Well, and I think, Otis, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, Coach and I did. You take the production of a Grant Morgan and a Henry as walk-ons that earn scholarships, show that production. Then you do what they've done with Drew Sanders this season. Those three guys are walking billboards for what Arkansas can do for you as a linebacker to get you at a high production rate to get you into the league. Because ultimately, every one of these kids, and we talk about this all the time on the Twitter Spaces and on the podcast, every one of these kids, the ultimate goal for them, the dream, is to go play in the league on Sunday or go play professional football, wherever that be, Canada or wherever. And to do that 3 years in a row and put guys in the draft, put guys that are getting signed as undrafted free agents, that just helps us continue to get more guys like an Alex Sanford to come to Arkansas and play football.
Well, yeah, and the thing about it is they've made that point to those kids, because I did a story a week or so ago back. Jaden Hazelwood had 62 catches in his time at OU. He had 59 in 1 year at Arkansas. Drew Sanders, people don't realize he had one sack at Alabama in his career. One sack. Yeah. He gets at Arkansas and goes off. Jordan Dominic, another kid, comes in and tops his career stats. I mean, you're talking kids coming in here playing 1 year and almost beat or did beat their career stats at another school. And we're not talking about bad school. We're talking about Oklahoma, Alabama, places like that, and Georgia Tech. So, I mean, that's what sold John Morgan III that just signed today from Pitt. That's what swayed him. They brought out that sheet and showed him what they did with kids for 1 year. The Jaden Hazelwoods, the Drew Sanders, the Matt Landers, and what they accomplished in 1 year here. And when you're a kid with 1 year of eligibility, you look at that and it rings a bell. I mean, it holds water.
Well, it'll make you some money. It'll get you paid and get you into the league. Next on the list, man, this is another kid that I'm really interested in. I didn't get to see him play. I watched a lot of tape on him, though. RJ Johnson out of ELCA in McDonough, Georgia, 6'2", 175, 28 offers. He's a three-sport athlete, played football, basketball, runs track. He's projected as a corner or a safety. I'll be honest, when I look at this kid on tape, I see nickelback. Like I see that third down nickel corner because of his build, his length, his reach. He's got to get a little more discipline in his pass coverage because I saw some highlights of him where he got some PBUs, but he was lazy with his arms as far as placement. He was draping his arms a little too much, and you know that stuff in the SEC is going to get called. You might get away with it a little bit in high school because you know high school refs are notoriously not the best in the world. But you know he's not going to get away with that in the SEC. Got to work on his skills a little bit, get up there where he needs to be. But I'm really excited about that kid too.
Another option for him too, though, is wide receiver. I know they're recruiting him to play defense, but that kid is one heck of a receiver, and that might be eventually where he ends up. But he could, but don't rule out completely receiver because he played a lot of that at his high school.
He did. He played both ways, played special teams as well, so he didn't come off the field much at ELCA. Joey Sua, Bentonville High School, 6'4", 320 offensive lineman, projected to play guard at Arkansas, was number 6 prospect at Arkansas, had 9 offers. The one thing that I saw in Joey's game, and I watched Joey play live a couple of times when I was in Northwest Arkansas this fall, because I wanted to see him. I wanted to see what kind of ball player he was going to be. He's got to get his feet straightened out.
Agree completely.
Like he's got to get his footwork right. And I think they had him they played him. He was kind of bebopping between left guard and left tackle all season, depending on who they were playing. He's a liability at left tackle right now because of his feet. But I really see, when I look at this kid, like I really see like prototypical road grader of a guard in the run game. He's violent and he likes to hit people. Those Samoan kids, man. I know Keith, man. You're out in Arizona. You run into them kids all the time. I love them big Samoan kids, man, because, dude, they got a different level,
For their size, they're just the fastest people for big size. They are. They're very athletic for their size.
A lot of bend too. I mean, the kid's got good bend at the hips. His arms are a little shorter. That's why I don't like him at tackle. Even for a kid, a kid at 6'4", he's got a shorter arms, but he's strong. And he's another kid that I think he's got to get in there with Ben Sowers and got to change, or with Sowers, he's got to change his body a little bit because he's a little, I don't want to say fat. Fat's the wrong word. He's just got a lot of baby fat on him. He's got to trim that down.
He's just a big
old kid, and he's got to develop his upper body a little bit and get a little tone. Next kid down, and I know this kid Otis was there was some discussion he might flip late. Brad Spence out of Klein Forest in Houston, 6'2", 225 defensive lineman. He's projected to play inside linebacker. What I saw with this kid, loves playing downhill, got a nose for the football, and absolutely loves to knock the hell out of people. Like he's a headhunter.
Coach down there reminded him a lot of Micah Parsons, and that's about as good a comparison. I mean, that's as good a compliment as you can give a defensive player to say he reminds you of Micah Parsons. Said he's got some Micah Parsons in him. So, and he's got a younger brother, Trent's in the 10th grade, has been offered a scholarship too. But Brad's a good ball player. He visited Cal, Texas, hung around for a while, but he's going to be a linebacker just like Carson Dean and the other Sanford kid, and he's a good ball player. He's just he can make plays, man. And as you said, he goes down here. But when somebody compares somebody to Micah Parsons, that's probably about as good a compliment as you can give a defensive player.
The one thing I want to see with him though Otis and Coach Adelaide, I don't know if you got to watch any tape on him or not, but if he's going to play middle linebacker, he's got to work on his zone read coverages and stuff because he's not real great at defending the pass. He's really good against the run, and we need guys that can go against the run, but situationally, he's not great against the pass. And that's
he was playing the edge, so I think he's not had the experience there. I think a lot of that is just the inexperience. I'm not saying that's all of it, but I think a good portion of that is just the fact he's been playing the edge for his high school more than anything else. And so I don't think he's had to do much pass defense I think that's something though they feel like they can develop him in. I don't, he's a kid that, even the other two, if they don't play immediately, that's okay. That's you got some kids, Jordan Crook, Manny Powell, they paid their dues this year.
Yeah.
You could do the same with those kids,
I don't know what this kid I don't know what this kid's size is. And I'm with you. I don't think he's he's an edge rusher right now. According to his size, because what he's great, he's great with his hands. As a pass rusher, you want to use your hands to keep their hands off of you. In high school, it is hard to get because, like you said earlier, they want to lock up.
Yep.
You don't want them doing that on pass rush. This kid is a natural that used his hands to keep them off, and he's also got a fantastic move called the push pull. He fires his hands, pushes, and that guy automatically goes opposite and pushes back, and he pulls him past, and then he explodes and uses that off of him. I think he's going to end up being a defensive end, a rush defensive end. So that's exactly what I think will happen.
See, you don't see many guys at 6'2" playing rush defensive end, though, Coach.
Yeah, but you look up at some of the great ones that have been in the NFL. Elvis Dumerville led the league for a few years. I mean, they don't, because you think you want somebody that can knock down passes, but how many passes does our guys knock down, our defensive end, in a year? 2, 3?
Yeah.
We probably knocked down 10 the whole year.
Well,
and that's it.
And I gotta ask
though,
I gotta ask though, Coach, how much is that being coached though? Because I mean, I know
you're
when
right.
I was working with
you're
my
100%
sons,
right.
I was telling them, hey, even at 9 and 10 years old, throw your hands up. You see that guy throw that arm back, your hands automatically go up. I don't care what's going on. Next guy on the list is the last high school player, Ian Gefford, out of Whitfield Academy in Mableton, Georgia. Man, that Georgia connection is feeding Northwest Arkansas. I'm loving what I'm seeing out of Georgia. 6'6", 350 pounds. This kid is a load. Like, I'm talking like big old baby face, big old cheeks. Like, I see this kid, like, I got excited looking at him on tape. 14 offers. He was a two-way player at Whitfield Academy in Mableton, played defensive tackle and offensive tackle, two-sport athlete, football and track. He was top 100 offensive line in the country. I actually think this kid, they might flip him to the other side of the football, Otis.
That's possible. It very well could. What they want to look at before they do that, though, and I do think that's probably a good possibility, but I think they're wanting to see if they can get a Ridgeway type out of him before they do that, because that's what they want. That's what they're looking for, is a John Ridgeway type. Not saying he's as good as Ridgeway or wherever will be, but if he can give them a lot of what John Ridgeway did, in some ways he may be a better athlete than John. John was faster and more developed. Of course, he was a lot older than this kid too when he came here. Well, but that's what they want to see. If he can give them a lot of the things that Ridgeway did, if he can, I mean, he'll stay on D. But eventually, if not, they may feel more comfortable putting him on the offensive line.
Well, the one thing I saw with his track, and I went and looked at some of his track stats, throws the hammer, throws the discus, throws the javelin. So he's got upper body wise. He may be in this class. He may be one of the strongest freshmen coming in here. I mean, he's his upper body wise. He's just a strong kid. I think he's another one that's got to get in college and change his body a little bit. That first 6 months he's there, calorie restriction plus protein impact, with the weight program and that kind of thing. But he'll be one. He'll come up there in January and go home in May for a month. And when he gets home, his mama ain't going to recognize him because he's going to shed a bunch of weight and he's going to be a different looking kid.
I would put this kid at nose on certain running situations and say, listen, kid, I don't even expect you to make the tackle, but you take up 2 or 3 linemen. And because he showed flashes of getting low and just driving guys with those big legs into the backfield. And that's not bad in the pot. Even if it turns into a pass, if he's in on what we think is going to be a run play early on, he's so big. You collapse the front of that pocket, the quarterback can't step up. It's a different world. I think this kid's got some very good potential.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they want out of him, that nose right there, the nose position. That's what they're looking at. Like I said, if he can do that, there's been some other kids. Alabama had a big kid a few years ago. I don't remember his name, big kid like that, but Ridgeway comes to mind, but that's what they're wanting out of him. And if he can do that, he's going to stay on D, but otherwise, eventually might. But that's exactly what they're wanting out of him, to be that guy. Like you said, he doesn't even have to make the tackle to get the stat, but he can open up things for the linebackers and other players,
Yeah.
to do
Yeah,
that.
I'm a big Belichick fan, and he loves a big bodied guy that could just get some push. He can't get driven back. That screws everything up. But if he can get some push, changes the game for those linebackers. They're just running free back there.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right. We're gonna skip the transfers because I want to be respectful to Keith. I mean, I don't want to shun those guys, but I want to save the transfer conversation for when we get into February, once we see what the portal does, because I want to see how the rest of this portal situation straightens out. Because Coach Pittman said today, we got a 45-day window. I think it closes on the 18th of January. Position needs that Pittman said he's looking at 10 to 12 more players this season. Offensive line, tight end, receiver, defensive back, linebacker, defensive tackle, looking for age, essentially some veterans to bring in to kind of help these young kids and get them ready, get them seasoned. I don't want to ignore the guys. We've talked about a couple of them a little bit, but I want to save that conversation so we can go into this NIL stuff, because I think this is really important, and I want to be respectful of Mr. Grayson's time. Keith, man, appreciate you joining us tonight. If you guys don't know, of course, this is Coach Kelley, Otis Kirk. Keith is the president of the 4th and 25 NIL. It's not really collective. Keith, what do you want to break it down for us real quick?
So the name of it is the 4th and 25 Fund, and we're charity based. And I think that was just kind of my interpretation and something that I wanted to do to be able to kind of assist in the NIL landscape. It wasn't anything, I don't know, compared to what other people are doing and compared to where it lies with the recruiting, if it stands up next to Ole Miss's collective, or that wasn't what I was shooting for. I still think that Arkansas needs something like that. But this was just my interpretation of how to work within the current rules of this in the best use for this, where the student athletes are going to get the most out of it. And we can participate in the NIL. We can also help people around the state that are in need in a charitable cause.
Keith, tell us, man. What is the type? You looking for specific athletes with 4th and 25, or is this? Is there a requirement? Like how does 4th and 25 choose the young men or young women that they want to work with?
The first person we chose was Pooh Paul. He wasn't announced first, but he drove this entire thing because he went to a meeting. Well, the university puts things on all the time where they're introducing NIL partnerships with the student athletes through the flagship. So Pooh Paul came to the event, and he was walking to the event, talking to his dad, saying, I really wish I could meet somebody that was community-based and I could get involved with a charity. And that's how we came to be. And if you haven't, I know, Matt, I know you have a relationship with his dad and everything, but that kid, that's who we want at Arkansas. That's who, if we have kind of a face of what we're trying to do around the state and help people, he encompasses the entire thing. And so what I will look for and what our board kind of, what we pay attention to is who's making the academic honor roll and who's getting kind of those accolades through. Sam Pittman tweets it out, right? He says these guys were outstanding in academics, and we don't want anybody that we want somebody that's going to be involved in, they want to be involved in the community. Cam Little's somebody else that we want to work with. As soon as we can raise enough money to kind of work with his cause and everything. Somebody that's going to be, you'd be surprised like how many student athletes there are on campus right now that want to be involved in a charitable organization, and that's near and dear to them. I don't believe in the system where you hear about people just getting paid without anything in return, really, just to, like what Pittman was referring to earlier, like kind of a pay for play deal. I don't think that, well, and I may have a difference of opinion on that just because I've worked every day since I was 14. So I've always kind of, expected to show up and work and get something back for it, as opposed to just signing my letter of intent at a college and getting a Camaro at $100,000 for not doing anything. So with this, I think we want to go further to kind of, it doesn't go as far as what the Hunts have, where there's a mentorship. I mean, we still talk to everybody that we're involved with, but I think that a student athlete is going to get more dealing with a charity and in the community in Fayetteville or around Arkansas or back where they're from than just getting a paycheck. And I think there's a lot that goes into that.
Well, Keith, I know like you guys have done some really amazing things, and I know like a week ago, you guys put out something on Hog Sports on the message board about raising money for Christmas in Little Rock, and can you share with us just we're running close on time, but I want to be respectful of you being with us. Can you tell us a little bit about what Layden Blocker is being able to do in Little Rock this year through 4th and 25?
So yeah, Layden Blocker is an interesting case because he was attending, I think, Otis, didn't he go to Little Rock Central starting out? And now he's at a prep school in Kansas.
He was at Little Rock, I believe it's Little Rock Christian.
He was a Christian.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
I'm a Little Rock Central alum, so I was hoping he went to Little Rock Central. But anyway, so he's going to a prep school in Kansas, and Kansas has a law there where you can receive NIL money as a high school student. So there's a little bit of a loophole there, and we cleared it with the staff and the university prior to getting into this. But he wanted to give back to the North Little Rock Boys and Girls Club, where he went, spent his summers and everything growing up playing with ball with Moses Moody and everybody. So we were able to raise a little over, pretty close to $10,000 for a toy drive, and it was his idea, and got 300 toys delivered for 40 children and impacted 12 families. And we're going to be able to, he's going to be down there handing the toys out on Christmas Eve to kids. It's kind of a surprise. I don't think anybody's watching the podcast right now, so I'm not ruining any surprises, but
no, you're not
on their end. But anyway, that's just a kind of a look inside of something where we can raise a certain amount of money. We can give him a guest appearance fee. He helps us raise the money to get the word out and to promote his cause. And so with these guys too, they have to create an LLC. So they start their own business. We pay that LLC through the charity to help us market for their event. Everybody else on the board is volunteer based. And so just like any other charitable organization, we have to market what we're trying to raise money for and how we're fundraising. And the student athletes, being local celebrities that they are, help us get the message out, and we can, there's a benefit for that. There's a value to that. And so the way the math breaks down is they make about 20 to 25% of the money that we raise. It's just a little bit of walking around money. It's nothing nefarious like some other schools are doing. It's not a huge blank check, but the most important thing is it goes back in the community. They get to participate in it. So I think if there's a 17-year-old in the country that's raising $1,000 right now and gets to hand toys out to 12 families on Christmas Eve that are in need, I'd like to see it, because he thought of this on his own, and we were just there kind of along for the ride and drove the message home. And it's going to be covered by Pig Trail Nation, and so we'll get to see it kind of in real time unfold on Saturday.
That's awesome, man. I'm excited. Arkansas Sports Network, Big Pig Energy, man. We're going to be working with the 4th and 25 funds, trying to help promote it. I spent some time talking to Keith the other day, and I'm the type guy, when I get involved with a charity, I want to know, like, what are they doing? How are they doing it? Like the way it's explained to me, the impact it makes on their local communities, the ability for our college students to be able to do stuff back home in their home states. That's huge. I love the fact, and I want to throw the gauntlet down a little bit for our Big Pig Energy audience. I was looking at the website. Go to 425fund.org. Again, that website is 425fund.org. They've got an active fundraising campaign going on right now. They got a $25,000 goal. They're $4,200 short of their $25,000 goal. I'm challenging the Big Pig Energy Nation, Arkansas Sports Network, anybody that hears this, let's get them to $25,000 before the end of the year. You know, Arkansas fans, you've been talking on Twitter, you've been banging the drum for the last couple of weeks after what Coach Pittman had to say about NIL. It's time to put up or shut up. Put your money where your mouth is. This is 100% tax deductible. It's a 501c3. So you can write this off on your income tax next year as a charitable deduction this year. So you can do it one time, monthly, quarterly. You can do annual donations. I'm gonna throw it down. I'm putting $100 of Matt's money towards 4th and 25 tonight. I want you guys to really give this some consideration this year, because it goes to help twofold. It helps the Razorback athletes, helps us grow NIL with a good cause, but it also helps families that need the help. So I just want to throw that down, give you guys the information. We'll tweet it out on Twitter as well, Keith. Throw it on our Facebook page as well. But man, I appreciate you being patient and joining us tonight, talking a little bit about this. Coach Kelley, Otis, thank you. I appreciate you guys being here, Coach, as always. We'll be talking over the holidays, I'm sure. Otis, man, I appreciate it. I know we drugged you away from a basketball game tonight.
Got fun.
I've been keeping up with it via Twitter and ESPN game chat, or game stats or whatever, so I keep up with the score. But appreciate you guys being a part of the show tonight. We'll get this thing out and get it live. You know, we're going to come back next week for bowl game prep. So audience, please be with us next week as we come back after the bowl game to kind of chop up what happened at the Liberty Bowl next Wednesday, 28th.
1 week from today.
Otis, good to see you again, buddy.
You bet, Coach. You bet. Anytime, man. One of the best in the business, if not the best. So it's always a pleasure to be here. This guy was always great to me, man. When I dealt with the recruits at Pulaski Academy, always great. And, all of them, all the kids over there, the Henrys, the Luke Jones, all of them. So, it was great. Always been a pleasure to work with him. And when you get a kid that played for him, you're getting a well-coached kid.
You mentioned earlier you didn't take any journalism classes, so you don't know how good you were at that. You know what a good journalist does? Brings the information to you, and you always had a way of getting that info and getting it to us. So that means you're a darn good journalist. That's all that matters. Classes don't get it done. You can go to Harvard, but can you get the information to the people? That's what they want.
That's right.
That's what you've done for a long time.
is a state treasurer. I've followed him from afar, so me getting to sit with him tonight has been kind of a fangirl moment for me, because I followed him for a long time, and you don't know what it meant to me for you to join us tonight. So, guys, get with us next week. We're going to do a post game with the Liberty Bowl. We'll do another signing day show in February. We'll have Coach back, hopefully, maybe try to get Otis back, a couple other players that didn't get to join us tonight. I want to give them an opportunity to talk about why they became Razorbacks. Y'all have a great night, and go Hogs.